Welcome back to the Real Quick with Mike Swick podcast. Today we have Ryan Bader on the show. He doesn't need any introduction whatsoever. I could just say, let's talk to Ryan right now. But I want to try. I want to challenge myself to list his accolades. So Ryan Bader was the Tough 8 champion. If I'm correct on all this, make sure I'm correct. Don't flame me if I'm not. He was the Tough 8 champion. He is the current heavyweight Bellator champion. He was the light heavyweight champion. He's the World Bellator Grand Prix heavyweight champion. And he is also either the only man or the first man to simultaneously hold 2 belts and 2 weight classes in Bellator history. And that's not counting the accolades of the people that he's beaten, including Fedor and just a who's who. I'm not even going to list all the people that he's beaten. I think I've done pretty well for myself so far just doing this. But so finally, I can't believe I haven't had him on the show before. I love the guy. I haven't talked to him a lot, but I love the guy. I love watching him fight. He's a super nice guy. Ryan Bader. So Ryan, welcome to the show.
I appreciate it, brother. How you doing?
Good, man. I can't believe I've never had you on the show before, but I'm happy to have you on now, finally.
Oh, yeah, it's been a long time. I remember, going to AKA a little bit back in the day, friends with Cain and all those guys, and so it's good to see you again.
Yeah, so you were at ASU. Was it the same time with Cain? Have I seen a photo with you and Cain together there?
Oh, yeah. So Cain came over from a JC. I came from Reno, so I redshirted. I was there 5 years.
Okay.
And Cain came over, and I was a 97-pounder. He was a heavyweight. CB Dalloway, was the weight class underneath us. We had Aaron Simpson as our assistant coach. A lot of guys came from that. But, Cain and I were both upper weights at ASU, and we had a good little roster and a lot of guys that went on to the UFC and MMA in particular. And I don't know why. It's just one of those things where – I knew Cain was going to go in. You knew he was going in right away.
Yeah.
And all of us were kind of like, yeah, we'll see what happens, and Cain, I think he took a fight before he even started training, right after nationals for wrestling. So we kind of watch each other kind of go into this sport and be successful. And we're like, hey, maybe I can do it too. And it kind of trickled down.
So was Cain super quiet and to himself a lot at ASU, or was he
a little bit of both? We both know Cain. He's a goofy guy, funny guy.
It's two sides.
His exterior, tough guy, quiet. But then when you get to know him and he opens up, he's a really funny dude.
Yeah.
Fun-loving guy, and he definitely was that quiet at the beginning. Yeah. But then as he's comfortable, he opened up, and I think he opened up more and more as he had to do all the media obligations for MMA and all that kind of stuff, and kind of grew into himself, really.
Yeah, it's crazy. When he came to AKA, so we always had guys coming into AKA. So we had guys that came in for a week, 2 weeks, a month. Then we had guys that came in to pursue a career, and they'd come in from Japan, Europe, wherever. And he came into AK from Mexico. Well, I thought from Mexico because I didn't know who he was. He just came in. Yeah. We're training. We don't pay attention. The guy's coming in all the time. Yeah. He was working with Javier. Brown Pride tattooed across his chest. Yeah. And he never talked. Never talked. Yeah. And I never talked to him because he never talked in the meetings, nothing like that. I think a month went by before I heard his voice. And so I just thought he was a fighter from Mexico that came in, was working with Javier every day because, he was working on striking and stuff like that. Yeah. And then finally, we started talking and then eventually, it got into the Cain that you and I both know where, he's more funny and great personality and just a total different person. But I remember that first month, man, I was like, does this guy speak English? Does he not speak English? Because, I wouldn't have said that if he didn't have brown pride. He was Mexican, obviously. So
exactly,
I just didn't know. And then, but he looked good and we knew he was there to stay. And we were just so focused on our careers and training all the time that we didn't, it wasn't like we were looking at everybody in the gym and seeing who they were and how long they were going to be there. People came in and left all the time. So we didn't know if he was going to be there for a week or a month or what the case. But that's funny, man. Anthony Robles, he was at ASU and he was a Sun Devil. What time frame was he there compared to you?
Yeah, so he was right after me. So he came in and he has one leg.
Yeah,
and
he was on my podcast. I had him on my podcast.
Yeah, and he is the so you guys know him, and he is one of the strongest physically human beings and mentally, you know, and he was going up. We had this Squaw Peak. It's a big mountain we'd have to run. Usually coaches had us go on, you know, Saturday morning, so we weren't out partying or anything like that.
Yeah.
But he would go up there, you know, in crutches and everything, and you know, beat some of the wrestlers, and he just had that mindset, and he's just a good human in general.
Super inspirational guy, man. I love guys like that, man, and they just go for it, and he's done so well. But you have you have a submission underground 19, I believe it is, coming up against Derek Lewis. How is that going? How's training going for that? Was that like 5 days from now or something?
Yeah, so that's not happening.
It's not happening.
It's not happening. We were in, and we wanted to grapple Derek Lewis, you know, because I got asked by Chael, hey, do you want to grapple? It's Derek Lewis, and I'm like, hell yeah, let's go.
Yeah,
you know, and then kind of got word back that, you know, UFC didn't want that happening. So
did this just break, or am I just super late on it?
No, I don't think they said anything.
Oh, well, that's why.
About canceling it or anything like that. Yeah, no, we were 100% in. Yeah. You know, and we thought it would be you know, a good time. We get to go against, you know, Derek and all that kind of stuff. But whatever happened, I think because it's on UFC Fight Pass, I think they put a squash to it.
Well, it's great having you on the show, and I'll talk. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, right.
I'll talk to you next time you got something coming up. No, I'm just kidding. So, but were you training for that fight? Like, did you have any preparation whatsoever, or was it already like?
I was doing a lot of jiu-jitsu anyway. You know how you kind of just, you know, sometimes you focus on something and whatnot. So I was actually doing a lot of gi anyway. I was maybe going to do, you know, a tournament, whatever, and then we got offered that. And so we kind of were focusing on that for a couple of weeks, and then, you know, word came down that it wasn't happening.
Yeah.
You know, and I was like, hey, let me know if it's, you know, if we do a little workaround or if UFC changes their mind. But I think they kind of just squashed that. You know, I get it. He's, you know, I'm a heavyweight in Bellator. He's a heavyweight in UFC. You know, if you go out there and beat him up in jiu-jitsu or whatnot, could look bad. But I was looking forward to that. So, you know, for me, it's one of those things where a fight's around the corner anyway. And so we'll be ready to rock into February anyway. So I got that coming up.
I was going to ask you, I mean, I can ask you real quick one question about it, even though you're not fighting him. What was the difference in mentally and physically preparing for a submission match? I mean, obviously you're a wrestler for years. That's not much different. And then MMA now for however long you've been doing that. How was it? Was it more of like kind of like an easy kind of break to do something a little bit different that seems to me, in my opinion, a little bit lighter than MMA? Or what was it?
Sure, yeah. You know, and just like wrestling my whole life and all that, it kind of, it's, for me, I get, you know, amped up and you get nerves and all that for any competition. I've always been like that.
Right,
I could be wrestling the worst wrestler in the country, right? And for me, it was something exciting where I could get those competitive juices going. I could buckle down and go through a training camp, you know, but at the end of the tunnel, it's a 5-minute submission grappling match, you know? You could get hurt, you could get whatever, but it's not like a MMA fight, you know, that you're walking into. So it was a good little different mental space, you know, I was got to go into for a while. You know, it'd be right before Christmas. I'd have a little, you know, good little camp with that, be in good shape for actual fight camp. So definitely a good little break, but unfortunately, it didn't happen.
Yeah, and especially not your camps. I mean, your camps are championship camps, so that's a big difference. How's the COVID situation in Arizona right now? I mean, America's freaking crazy, bro. I'm in Thailand. We have no COVID, so I mean, we're suffering. Like my business is suffering, and we have no my business is 100% tourist. So the borders have been locked for 9 months. So I've been 9 months without any real revenue and holding this gigantic gym on my shoulders. So that sucks. But the good side is there's no coronavirus. So they did end the coronavirus in Thailand pretty much. There's a couple in the hospital or whatever. So it's like we get to live kind of a normal life and not get that whole, like what you guys are dealing with. How is it in Arizona? And then how is it training right now through all that?
Yeah, you never know. You know, they say it's real bad in Arizona. And I never know what to believe anymore. But, you know, I've known a lot of people, you know, healthy people that have had it.
Yeah.
You know, for them, it's you know, a couple of days you're sick and they're getting over it. But for us, we have, you know, I have a building that kind of just like the pros come we train at. So when it was bad, and for me, it wasn't as much about getting it. It was about getting it and being at the fight and not being able to fight.
Right.
You know, and so when I had my last fight, you know, we were tested a bunch, you know, the week of like 4 different times.
Yeah.
And my whole thing was like, all right, I had to run like a skeleton crew, you know, to make sure we were safe, make sure we got to the fight, make sure my cornerman didn't have it, we didn't have it, so we could fight.
Yeah.
You know, and I usually bring guys in. I'll bring guys in from Brazil or whatever. And so that was shut down. So it was one of those things. It was definitely different, you know, and now when we limit the guys, you know,
yeah, you got to
currently, but you know, we still get our training in, you know, we're safe about it. We haven't had anybody have it at the gym, you know, and if, you know, if you hear about, hey, you know, I had contact with this person, we just make them get a test and they can come back when they have a negative test. So it hasn't affected us too much. But definitely, you know, 3-4 months ago, it was a different story for sure.
Yeah, and then being that you fought and competed, I guess, in everything, wrestling. I'm sure you've done that in small, tiny venues, all the way to the big stuff, and then competition and MMA and all that as well. How did that affect you in that last fight, as far as like the preparation and before the fight, and then maybe I guess during the fight a little bit, having no audience and then going through all that, just that all that extra? Because I know just the media stuff alone, especially for someone like you, I never got to your level, so like being a champion, it's got to be taxing, and I see these guys going through all these interviews and media stuff, and then having the corona on top of that, the coronavirus and the pandemic and the quarantines. Was it tough, like, for you to go through that?
Yeah, last fight was just a weird. It was tough on like different. You know, I had an injury, kind of tore my knee, and it was in May, and it tore my MCL almost completely, and got it back, and I'm like, all right, I need to fight, you know, and I don't know. What was crazy is like I don't know, you know, what happens in the future. What happens if they're like, hey, we need to take a year off, 2 years off to get to single control, because we had all these fighters test positive. So I was nursing my knee. I'm like, all right. And I thought I was fighting heavyweight.
Yeah.
I'm fighting Congo. And then I was like, hey, guys, we got to know. Like, it's about 4 weeks, 3 weeks out. And finally they said we're going down to 205. And so I had to switch that, you know, all right, different mentality. Now we're losing weight. And then the corona on top of that. You know, it was definitely different. You know, it is what it is. You accept a fight, you go in and you fight and accept the outcome. And it was, I thought I would kind of enjoy no fans. It'd just be kind of something different. But it definitely was different for sure. Yeah. It felt like you were walking into sparring. And I guess, you know, that nervousness of the fans and getting hyped up puts that little extra gear in you. And so definitely looking back, walking out, touching gloves, it was kind of like, all right, here we go. You know, it's Friday sparring session. So that was definitely different, you know, and I would approach that in a different way next time. You know, I would come in with that, you know, that fire and aggression right away, just like I was fighting in front of 20,000 people, you know. So it's definitely a different experience for sure.
Yeah, and being that you were the Tough 8, right? Tough 8 champ?
Yeah,
tough 8. And, you know, that's my only experience fighting with no audience, so I can kind of relate to that aspect. But that was also before I got in the UFC and started fighting in front of 20,000 people that was like roaring and then getting it taken away later on. So it wasn't as big of a deal. I was fighting in rodeo arenas and shit like that before that.
Yeah.
Is it comparable to that, like as far as the fight? I know obviously the coronavirus and the pandemic, the testing and the pandemic and the quarantine, all that stuff, that was a pain in the ass. But when you actually got in there, was it kind of like tough, like in the way of just that? It was weird, man, for me getting in there fighting like that in that garage, and like it was weird, man.
You know, Ultimate Fighter, you kind of had your team there a little bit, kind of cheering, you know.
Yeah.
And then, because you could hear. I mean, when I say there was nobody there, I mean there was barely even Bellator crew.
Yeah.
There was just like bare minimum, you know. So you can hear everything, and everything is so quiet.
Yeah.
And you can hear your coaches and all that, but it was just a different experience, especially for the first time. And it definitely was like, you know, the Ultimate Fighter. But like you said, we were in different points of our careers then too. And I was the same.
You're ready. You like that big crowd.
Ring in Mexico with Cain and all that, and fights like that. So I didn't care. I was like, man, I'm an Ultimate Fighter. Here we go. But yeah, definitely different at this stage in your career for sure. But, you know, now that you know what it is, what it's like, I'm sure it's going to keep like this for another year or so.
Probably, yeah.
So
I think so.
just got to work around it.
So being that you're 37, right? Being that
Yeah.
you're 37 and you've been wrestling for so long and then fighting for so long, are you just tired of cutting weight? Like, do you either have it down to where it's like nothing now, or is it just, you're just like tired as shit of cutting weight by this point?
No, well, I haven't cut weight. Last fight was my first time I cut weight in like 3 years. I've been fighting heavyweight,
Right, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I was 215, cutting down to 197 every single weekend in wrestling, and that 215 was lean, and so 205 and making it, maybe 2-3 times a year wasn't bad when I got into MMA. But then I had a taste of heavyweight.
Yeah.
And fight week, you just show up,
Relaxed.
healthy, but you're relaxed. You don't have that cutting weight's like an extra fight.
Yeah,
and you're
yeah.
focusing on that. Then all of a sudden you have the fight the next day. So heavyweight was nice, but if I have enough time, it's not too bad for me. And I don't enjoy it, but I enjoy that process of being very strict through training camp, and making the weight. So we'll see what happens this next fight. There's a couple different things we potentially could be doing. And so might be cutting weight again, might not.
So yeah, let me ask you, or let me get your opinion on this. I had a little trick when I was cutting weight. So middleweight, I was like you. I didn't cut much weight. It was comfortable, like maybe a few pounds. It more came to me to like not eat a lot the night before and like kind of like that whole thing. And then I cut like a pound or something the next day. But what I would do when I turned welterweight, I would take a bag of ice, like a Ziploc bag of ice, because what killed me the most was breathing the hot air in my head. Like the body, I didn't care. So I would take a bag of ice. And for you guys listening, this really helps when you cut weight. At least it did for me. I would take a bag of ice and I would just shove my face into the bag of ice. And I would just breathe the air. It was like air conditioning. It was like air conditioned air. And I would like chew on the ice and I'd spit it out and I like chew on it. And like, is that a good idea? You think that's a pretty good way of doing it? Because it worked for me.
Like if you're in the sauna and stuff, like, and you're trying to, you're already depleted and you're breathing that hot air.
It sucks.
When we were, so I showed up probably around 2:30. I had to get down to 2:05.
Jeez.
And, but they had, and I'll wear like a little sauna suit. And then they had we each had our little personal, like little saunas with our heads out.
Yeah.
Which was kind of nice because, it was cold in the arena, so we can breathe there. But
that's nice.
But
I saw those.
Any little trick that you can do, where you're not freaking out, because all it is, it's physical, but those last pounds, they're mental. It's like, all right, you either get out of there and cut 3 more pounds in the morning, or you can get a couple more pounds off if you just stay in 10 more minutes. And so it's a big mental thing. Not only that, then you got to turn around and you're fighting the next day.
That sucks. Dude, I hated cutting weight so bad. Like at some point, like when I had to cut actual weight, like real weight, I just remember thinking like, if I could just feel good, like if my body would just feel good, I don't care who I would fight. Like I would fight a tank with a knife. Like I don't even care. Yeah. Like if I could just get over this feeling of like the pre-weigh-in when you're waiting backstage, you're going out, I'm like, it's such a horrible feeling, man. I was just like, I don't even care about the fight, who it is. And I didn't even cut as much as you for sure, like half or more of your career.
Well, then, you do that. And then, for me, when I went up to heavyweight and I was able to feel good through that whole thing, I'm like, and you're always like, okay, these guys are big, this and that. And then when I actually went up there and tested heavyweight a little bit, I'm like, man, I'm just as strong and I'm way faster. I'm like,
fast, yeah.
Why not? Why are you killing yourself? I'm not killing yourself, but why are you doing this? It's going to take something out of it. It's
killing yourself, man. I think it's killing yourself for sure.
Yeah, and then when you're cutting out 20 pounds of water, and you feel good once you're rehydrating and all that, but your body's not the same the next day.
Can't be, not even close. So what do you have on the fighting front? I mean, do you have anything lined up yet?
So we're going to defend the heavyweight title, was the original plan.
Okay.
I think Tim Johnson, he's been on a 3-fight win streak, just beat Congo because I was going to fight Congo. But then, they started getting all these 205ers. They got Anthony Johnson, Yoel Romero.
Just about to ask about that, yeah.
Yeah, and so potentially maybe some talks about maybe a tournament, a little Grand Prix at 205, which would be a crazy bracket. You have, Nem
super
Caulfield
crazy.
Davis, Corey Anderson, Anthony Johnson, Yoel Romero, me, Machida or Gegard, so I don't see how they could pass that one up at all. And so, I mean, we'd be open. Bellator's been extremely cool about letting us do different things, and we've basically done what they've asked as far as, hey, you keep the heavyweight title, come down and be able to enter this tournament or whatnot.
Right.
So we're kind of on the fence there, but it should be end of February, early March when coming back.
So you're still open to fighting 205 and heavyweight the same, right? It depends on the match and what it is.
Yeah, if there, just like when I went up to heavyweight, I did the Grand Prix. It was one of those things where when I came over to Bellator, they asked if I would be open to doing different things like that, and then they asked, hey, it's a Grand Prix for the heavyweight championship. We said we're in. We didn't know who was in there. Then the bracket started filling out and ended up being a super cool tournament. And, that's what I came over for, to do different stuff like that, and not be just pigeonholed into a certain, weight class or this and that. And so I had a great time doing that. And so I'm always open to jump around, especially, that's going to be big. That tournament's huge. That their 205-pound division now is stacked.
Yeah.
And so if for some reason I wasn't a part of that, man, I would be looking at that bracket the whole time, wishing I was in it, and so I'll throw my name in there for sure.
I'm sure it's good and definitely for you and stuff, but it's like I hate seeing as a fan, I'd love to watch that bracket for sure. I just hate seeing such good fighters have to take losses because there's all but one's going to take a loss, and it's you got all great fighters. So I think it would be almost better to have super fights lined up and matchups that just made sense versus getting all these guys losses except one. And then I'll go in order, like Musashi, for instance, coming at 205. How do you feel about a fight like that? Does that excite you at all?
Yeah, for sure. It's kind of going through the super fights, right? I got to the point in my career now where, I did win the light heavyweight championship and the heavyweight, so I checked those off, and kind of going back to what I was saying, like when I came over to Bellator, I was looking to do those different things, like those cool fights or super fights or Grand Prix or, stuff like that. And so, and Bellator's been great, with facilitating that. And so that's kind of where we're at. So that's why I am looking at, okay, if it's cool if we hold that heavyweight championship, jump over here and do this Grand Prix, and if it's not, I'll fight heavyweight. That's fine. If they want to, either strip that or whatever. So, I would say right now it's Tim Johnson end of February, March.
Tim Johnson,
but
okay.
Just in case I can jump in that tournament, I will, or do both.
It seems like for you, of all those fights, I think it'd be a great matchup with anyone. I'd love to see you fight Romero. I'd love to see you fight Musashi, but it seems like the storyline to make a big, nice super fight would be that rematch with Rumble now that he's coming over.
Oh, yeah.
And is that something you would have no problem taking and getting in there and scrapping with him again?
Yeah, right after that fight, I changed a lot of things, like mentally and everything. And it was one of those things where, I was kicking myself. I'm like, jump the gun. We didn't stick to the game plan at all. Come on now. And I've always wanted to get that back. And I feel like I've grown tremendously from that, mentally and physically as a fighter. And so those are one of the fights where I definitely, would love to get back, just for me, in my mental space, and I always love to see how far I've grown as a fighter too, both physically and mentally. But yeah, I mean, that bracket would be insane, and there's no give me fight. There's no like, okay, first fight's against this dude will be not too bad. I mean, every fight's going to be insane in that bracket if they do it.
All right, guys, I hope you're enjoying the podcast. I'm definitely enjoying hosting it. It's a great one, but I got to thank our sponsors really fast. Our first being Manscaped, the official trimmer of the UFC, and now the official trimmer of the Real Quick with Mike Swick podcast, and yours truly. Precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. And now you can save 20% by going to manscaped.com, manscaped.com, entering code QUICK, easy to remember, QUICK, and you get 20% discount and free shipping. So if you're looking for the ultimate stocking stuffers for this holiday season, look no further, because Manscaped has the tools to make you win this year's stocking stuffer or white elephant competition. They're the best, bar none, by far, and now they have just released their products across Europe, Canada, and Australia. So if you're watching from Canada, Europe, or Australia, you can also go to manscaped.com and get products, 20% discount using code QUICK, free shipping to your door, right to your house, your office, wherever you get them. And again, using code QUICK lets them know that you're coming from the podcast. They see these orders. They're so happy because they're like, wow, the podcast is killing it. The code QUICK is just getting us so much business. So it supports the podcast, supports you getting the best product for you and your friends. It's a win-win for everyone. And as always, this podcast is brought to you by AK Thailand, the world's premier luxury training resort here in Phuket, Thailand. You can go to akthailand.com and save 30% by booking all group training packages for any amount of time, and there's no expiration date, so you can use them anytime in the future. So during the pandemic right now, you can prepay for any group training session at AK Thailand. You can even mix and match our packages, like our travel and convenience packages, and still save 30% on the group training portion and use it anytime. Again, no expiration date, 2021, 22, 23, whenever you want to come, save a third, 30%. And you can do it right now at akthailand.com. And if you have any questions, you can email info@akthailand.com, and we can tell you how we can get you here right now on a special 3-month visa. That's right. We can actually have you come in right now, go through a small quarantine, and be in Thailand, enjoy high season, train at AK Thailand, and have an amazing time. If you're not familiar with the gym, here's our commercial.
What's up, everybody? I am here in Thailand. This is the first time I've ever been here. Been dying to come here for years. Mike Swick, he's one of the big reasons he's been trying to pull me down here. What he built down here, AKA Thailand, is incredible. There's people here from all over the world. You can train mixed martial arts here, jiu-jitsu. They have weightlifting, they have cardio, and obviously they have Muay Thai, boxing, everything. I'm telling you guys, I know everybody wants to go to Thailand because Thailand's so cool, but you can't come to Thailand without coming to AKA Thailand. Come on.
I gotta ask you a couple questions just because you're just the ultimate winner. I mean, like, you're tough eight winner. You're the Bellator heavyweight. You were a heavyweight champion. You're a heavyweight champion now, light heavyweight champion, the Grand Prix champion, simultaneous two-weight champion. Like, you're like the winningest guy ever. I was going to ask you, so for you fighting at this high level and winning all these fights, do you, and I've asked this a few times in the past few podcasts, so excuse me for the followers that don't care about it, can't imagine anybody not caring. Do you watch a lot of tape and study your opponents a lot, like extensively, or do you just kind of go with the flow and just prepare for everyone the same?
Yeah, not really. I usually plan on it. I'm like, all right, I'm going to watch this guy's fights, and then I'll watch like a one or two like before training camp, and then I'll always be like, all right, I'm going to get to watching all of his fights, and I end up watching some like a week and a half before.
Yeah. And
I don't know why, but that's just what I do. My coaches watch a lot of it, and I kind of lean on them, and obviously I'll know if I haven't seen them fight before, I'll watch it, get to see what their style is and all that kind of stuff. But for me, I don't like to get into their mode, and if I'm thinking too much about what they're doing, I'm better being on the offensive than trying to react. And I find myself, if I watch, and I've done it before, watch too much tape, I start to not put them on a pedestal, but kind of like, all right, I got to watch out for his right hand or whatever,
right,
or this combo. And I'm thinking that the whole time in the fight, when I need to be just thinking about what I got to do and be aware of that's what they like, or they're going to try this. But, and so I started just kind of, when I want to watch a little bit, perfect, and fighting, it's a huge mental game too. Right. And so if you sit there and watch your opponent knock everybody out and look great, you're like, man, this guy's pretty damn good, and you get in your own head. So I just kind of like to watch a little bit and then just kind of put it on the back burner, let the coaches dissect it, let us drill on what you want me to drill on, and might catch up, freshen up a little bit right before the fight, and that's it.
Yeah. And then the other question I had to ask you is your training camp, like your fight camps right now, when you're getting ready for these huge fights that you have, what is your just normal routine, like daily and weekly routine of how you train and get ready for these fights?
Yeah, so Mondays and Tuesdays are hard. We'll do grappling. Usually 4 o'clock in the afternoon, we have, the pro practice where we're either some sort of either sparring, hard grappling, cage grappling. That's our tough practice. In the mornings, we'll do individual work, whether that's striking, strength conditioning. I go in this pod that kind of shoots you up at 21,000 feet and back down.
Oh, wow.
Your body kind of adjusts to that and makes more red blood cells and all this kind of stuff. And I've been doing that for like 5 years, been doing well with that. And just getting everything in, we'll run on Saturday mornings. Fridays we spar, get your strength conditioning in. And so I go 2-3 times a day, in just different aspects. And Wednesday we usually take off and I get some kind of body work done, and I usually bring people in. And so there'll be a lot of drilling also, as you get older and you don't need to go 100 and 10% every single practice, 100%. Right? You got to have your drilling in. And back in the day as a wrestler, our mentality was like, all right, you feeling tired? Your body feeling sluggish? Do 4 more rounds, where now we've gotten smarter and like, hey, I need a drill practice, and so we'll have a guy in from somewhere to emulate the person we're fighting. We'll drill, and obviously have your, your cardio in there and all that. So it's kind of like your regular week that you see, you've done a million times, and we've just adjusted it over, how many years we've been doing it and what works for me, and it's been doing well.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. And like for us in the early days of AKA, it was like I would like try to find some writing on the wall, and then like if I could read it, I'd go another round. If I couldn't read it, I'd be like, okay, that's enough for the day. And I'm surprised I even have a podcast right now. Like I stumbled that sentence. I'm surprised I have a podcast after all those years.
Right.
One thing that I wanted to ask you too, since you've had so many big fights, I think I know one of them for sure. But can you name at least one or a couple of your biggest victories and why?
Looking back, I have 3 at different stages in my career. 3 big victories. The first one, I come off the Ultimate Fighter. I fight a couple of tough guys, but, guys you've heard of, but they're not huge names.
Right.
And then I got a call. It was like, hey, Keith Jardine.
Yeah.
And this is after he beat, Chuck Liddell and all that.
Yeah.
So Keith Jardine in Australia, and I remember getting that call. I was like real nervous, and then right before the fight, being nervous because, it's a fight, but I haven't fought at that level yet. Right. I didn't know if these guys were head and shoulders above me. I thought I was right there with them, but I didn't know. And so walking in there, that was the only fight I threw up while I was warming up. I just had nerves going. Yeah. And so, I come out there and Keith Jardine's got that weird style and he throws 2 punches at me and I'm like,
he's scary to look at too.
Like, I got this. I see everything and end up knocking him out. And so that was kind of my first stepping stone. Okay, like I can do this. I can compete with anybody. The next one was Rampage. I was fighting. I had a couple losses during that time too, John Jones, and then I got to fight Rampage in Japan, and I came up watching him, and that was kind of my, the first kind of legend fight. Ended up beating him in Japan where he kind of made his name, so that was extra special. 10 a.m. in the morning, got to enjoy that, but I think the ultimate is Fedor.
That's what I was gonna say.
I had the light heavyweight championship. Went through this Grand Prix tournament. It's for the heavyweight championship. Not only that, it's become a 2-division champion. Not only that, it's doing it one of the greatest heavyweights of all time. Then to go out there and we were practicing this punch in the back because he goes to his right. If we push him a certain way, And I remember kind of going out, and I'm like, all right, there's a line I cannot cross, because he was twitching, and, Fedor will explode. And so I'm like, I can't cross right there. So I ended up throwing this little like weird hook kind of punch and catch him right on the button. And when I watched him fall, I was like, holy shit, it's happening. It happened exactly how we thought it would happen, and go up and finish it. And that was just extra special, have my wife and my coaches in there, to family and friends were in the stands to kind of all enjoy it together. So that was kind of the pinnacle, really, and it just a fun time. And then to do it over somebody like Fedor, just unbelievable. Right?
Dude, that's incredible. And I know exactly what you're talking about in that first fight. Like I had 4 wins in a row in the UFC when I first started. And they told me, they're like, all right, guy, you're going to get, or Dana told me, he's like, you're going to get the winner of Nick Diaz and Joe Riggs. And I'm like, yes, awesome. And then when I thought about it, I was like, fuck. I was like, holy shit.
You're like, oh,
both of them. Yeah, both of them were killing everybody. And that was when Riggs was smashing people from top, just those big, huge punches on the top. And I ended up getting Joe Riggs. And it was crazy because they fought. Then they went to the hospital, and then they fought again at the hospital.
Yeah, I remember that.
And then Nick fought him, and so I should be fighting Nick from the hospital fight because he was the last one to win. I think he ended up getting the win at the hospital, but at the actual UFC fight, it was Joe Riggs, and then I ended up fighting Joe Riggs, and it just worked out good in my favor. And I was just for 2 days, I was thinking to myself, did I win that fight? Like, did I really win that fight? Is this a dream or is this over? But I know exactly what you're talking about, dude, because I was scared as shit about that fight. He was like such a devastating fighter at that time. Holy shit.
Yeah, people don't realize, they're like, oh, these fighters just go out and fight and no emotion, whatever.
Oh,
but
hell no.
I mean, it's 90% mental going in. You just got to control those nerves, control, those weird thoughts you start getting. And we've both known a lot of fighters that have, they're studs in the gym, but they show up and they're 25% of themselves in the actual fight.
It's mental.
They can't control those emotions.
Yep. 100%. And yeah, you're absolutely right. And it's crazy, man. It's a mental game, even though it looks so physical. And yeah, I agree with you 100%. As far as your celebrity, since you're such a huge celebrity right now with all these big championships, what has been your big celebrity moment where, at least one moment, I know you probably had a lot of them, but one moment where you just like, if you weren't Ryan Bader and you weren't the champ and you didn't have this big, huge UFC career, this moment wouldn't have happened. And you were just like, wow. Like I like asking some of these guys this question because it's some cool stories.
Yeah, I don't know if there's one story in particular, and yeah, it's on the Ultimate Fighter, like we come from a wrestling background, right? And you get like a hug from your mom, handshake from your dad if you win the biggest tournament ever.
Yeah.
There's no like fan hoopla. And so after the Ultimate Fighter, I had a buddy on the year prior, and we were going to our first UFC fight. And he's like, hey, just be prepared. People are going to come, they watch the show and they're going to be all over you. I'm like, yeah, right, whatever.
Yeah.
And we walked into that UFC fight, and this was 2008 or 9, it's huge then, huge now, but still. And all of a sudden we get surrounded by like 100, 200 people.
Wow. And
people are like grabbing your shirt and like, hey, can I get an autograph? And I was almost freaking out, like getting claustrophobic, weird, this and that. But just as far as like from then on, it's sometimes you get recognition from like other celebrities. And I'm not a celebrity, but you get like big names, whether actors or athletes and stuff, and they know, and they're like, hey, good fighter, watch you do this. You're like, holy shit, and you do realize it's not just a little niche sport, it's huge. And the different people, you'll have grandmothers come up that, watch this sport too, so, definitely, as there's little perks here and there, but there's nothing crazy. And I just kind of live my life as I'm sure you do, just, you're a normal ass dude.
Yeah, I know. I like seeing that now, man. Like that's why I love having the podcast because I got these guys coming in now, and it's a different era. Like you're still there, and you're still at the top. So you're good for you. I've been out for so long. It's like I've lost all of that fun of fighting, competing, winning. The moments of getting that big fight, like I said, the moments of getting this or the video game, different things, And so it's cool having the guys on the show where I can kind of live vicariously through them. Like I had Cater on the show a few months ago, and now he got the fight with Max Holloway. He's fighting for the #1 contender, and so it's like to see these guys grow and see their excitement and see them get the big fights and talk to legends like yourself. It's so cool for me to like get back into it for an hour and enjoy like my career again. Like as far as like not my career, but just the career in general of like these great moments. And so it's like it's cool, man. It's really cool.
Did you know those different emotions? Like you were saying, you sign a fight and then you're excited, you're nervous, and this and that. And then I think the biggest thing is, when you win, and you go to a fight, you train your ass off, and you win. It's like this relief, just like and you can really just kind of be in the moment, And I look back on great memories. I look back on fights, and it was always something where. And is not right now because of COVID, but when our family and friends could get together, and we all had a good time, we had a good time after, or, we all went to, going back to the Australia fight with Keith Jardine, we took a trip down there and we stayed 4 or 5 days after, so I'm glad to do this because we get to make memories and be a part of, bringing family along and friends and an excuse for everybody to get together. And so, I look back on a lot of this and it's like, the fighting was cool, but everything we got to do with, loved ones was awesome. Yeah.
And what did you think about the Mike Tyson, Roy Jones Jr. fight? And then after that, what do you think about like now this new boom of YouTube fighters and celebrity like clout personalities coming into like not our sport, of course, but into boxing, where they limit they increase the puncher's chance and limit all the other stuff. But what do you think about the obviously the fight with those two guys being in their 50s, and then the YouTubers now coming in trying to get these huge fights? And I think Logan's got Mayweather now, and now Jake's trying to get a big fight. Like they're getting these $20 or $50 million fights from these damn boxers.
Yeah, I watch the Tyson highlights, and I'm all for it, man. If those guys want to get in there and compete, because I'll be there as far as like, man, I got to go compete in a BJJ tournament or something, because I've always competed my whole life, and those guys have also. And if they want to do it, awesome. And I thought Tyson looked pretty damn good.
Yeah, he did.
And then going to the boxing side of it, I get it, because it's almost like that's the new phase now. Even in MMA, UFC, Bellator, you have the guys that talk a lot and bring that entertainment, I guess you'd say, to the sport, and that's where it's going. So you're going to see these guys that are extremely popular on YouTube and have a ton of, social media followers and all that. What's crazier for me is Mayweather accepting a fight like that.
Against a guy who got beat by a video gamer.
Yeah, and I just don't get that aspect of it, and I don't get why, like, it's not doing anything for his legacy. Yeah, it's doing something for his bank account, and maybe that's what he needs. But
crazy.
For me to, if you look back and you're like, all right, think about Mayweather's fights, and he's fought and beat who's of boxing in his weight class. But then a lot of people just think about when he fought, Jake or Logan Paul or whatever, the YouTube kid that got beat by a basketball player, or you're a video game guy, And so, but that's where you're seeing a lot of this going. And then what is it? The one Jake is the one that's trying to fight Mayweather or McGregor right now.
Yeah. He's the one. He's the one that knocked out the basketball player with no boxing experience, and now he wants to fight McGregor.
They sell pay-per-views now, and so the promoters are like, well, let's do it.
Crazy,
and you're going to get, if he fights McGregor, it's going to be huge. So, I don't like it, but I get it, I guess.
I don't have nothing against the celebrities fighting celebrities. But I think it's cowardice. And I'm a fan of Logan. I like Logan's podcast. I don't know much about Jake. So I like his podcast. I got nothing against these guys for being who they are. It's tough work becoming famous and doing what they do. I got respect for them for fighting and boxing and putting it on the line. I just think it's cowardice to train like Jake's doing full time in boxing and then calling out video gamers and basketball players and beating them up. And then now he's obviously calling out the big names. I get it. But what he doesn't realize this, but I think a lot of other celebrities realize this from that fight. He enjoys laughing at the fact that he laid out Nate Robinson and flatlined him. Now he enjoys laughing at that, but what he doesn't realize is he's gonna get there one day. He's gonna be that guy that's gonna get flatlined. Yeah. And let me tell you something, like what you were saying about how we're scared sometimes when we walk out, that's fucking why. Yeah. And in our sport, the reason it's why is because getting flatlined ain't even that big of a deal. It looks bad, but you don't feel it. But when you're getting smashed up for 3 rounds and your orbital bone's broken, your nose is broken, your hands broke, your teeth are loose, like that's the real deal. You know what I'm saying?
When you get knocked down, you get stood back up and get beat up again.
Yeah.
And do that again.
That's a different game right there. That's the real alpha. And it's like, I think a lot of celebrities took note from that Nate Robinson fight. Like, okay, this might not be this fun thing that like we thought it was because we don't want to end up like him. But Jake obviously didn't take note because he's the one that did it. But he's going to be there one day. He's going to be there. He's going to be that guy. And I'm going to tell you, it's not going to be as fun as he thinks when those memes come out and people are making fun of him and that video is going over and over again. So, like, I have no problem with them fighting each other, you know, equal fights and celebrities. I enjoy watching all that. But I just don't like the disrespect against the MMA fighters and then dragging them into a sport that's not MMA. And taking away all their arsenal so that you have a higher percentage, though I think it's a lower percentage, but it's a higher percentage of getting that puncher's chance where you might just happen to land a punch and look good for a second, if not win the fight against a legit fighter because you took away 1,000 of his techniques and gave him like just punching only. You know, I think that's cowardice a little bit. And I think even so, he's probably going to get laid out and get Nate Robinson and then realize that he's going to stick to video gamers and basketball players after that.
And you're right, too. I mean, because he has been training, I think, full time.
He's full time.
He can punch.
And hats off to him for fighting, for sure.
It just takes one dang punch. And, you know, and for the MMA guys coming over, you know, they see the value in that. And they see, okay, you know, I'm going to get paid what for this? I'll risk it. Let's go.
I get it. I mean, I get it.
But you're not seeing guys come into MMA.
No.
You know, it's a different animal, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I know. And they're not going to fight MMA. Jake's going to say he's the alpha. He's going to say he's a badass. He's going to do all this, but he will not get in the MMA ring against any of them. Maybe Dylan Dennis. I don't count Dylan Dennis, but everyone else, I think he'll still beat Dylan Dennis in MMA. But well, no, not with grappling, but in boxing. But like, yeah, I definitely don't think he's gonna fight anybody in MMA. But unfortunately for him, these MMA fighters, you know, they may not be boxers, but they've punched quite a bit in their life, no matter who they are. You know, and it's not going to be the same as fighting an NBA boxer or whatever. But anyway, getting past all that,
I want to see it.
Yeah, just one last thing real fast. I wanted to ask you, since now that you're getting old, you're obviously in your prime and you're winning big fights, but you have to start thinking about your post-fight kind of career. What do you have going on, and what would you like to be doing in, say, 5 to 10 years from now that you'd be passionate about aside from fighting? Like what is your future ambitions? Yeah,
I've always been into just different stuff. I'm not one of those guys that like live and breathe MMA. Like, I'll catch some fights, you know, here and there. You know, but you know, I've got 3 kids, we've got a family, and I was like that. I knew everybody's name, I knew every fight, but I kind of got away from that, and you know, but I've had a different business we sold. We're starting you know, one of those, you know, 3-minute car wash drive-through things. I have some land. Nice. Just getting into different stuff like that, you know, and I do a lot of different investing stuff. Part of a tequila company that's starting off that's doing really well. So I'm always trying to, I want to get to the point where it doesn't matter if I'm, you know, fighting or not. Right. Yes, it's, you know, great margins in fighting. You go out and you know you have, barring injuries, you have this coming in, you know, and you can always kind of re-up, you know. But I want to get to the point where, hey, I'm not enjoying it anymore. I'm going to be done, you know, and for me, I'm 37. But I feel better now than I've really ever felt. You know, my cardio is way better than it used to be. I'm smarter about training. You know, I don't go in there, you know, I rarely spar. I'll spar light, move around. I'll spar in my training camp just because you need to. But other than that, you know, I kind of limit that. So I'm just being smart. Yeah. And the day I'm like, for me, walking into the cage, if I know I've done everything to prepare myself, and I usually do, barring an injury or something like that, I'm good. and I'm good with whatever result I get from that. But the day that I'm walking in, I'm second guessing myself.
Yeah.
Maybe I didn't do everything I need to. This is not the sport to do that. And that's the day where I'm going to have to be like, all right, I either got to hang them up or go to the damn senior league, and fight these older dudes or something like that. But I'm still enjoying it. And, got to the point now where financially it's real good too. And so there's that motivation. And so to answer your question, I've been and am constantly getting into things where I don't have to start over once I'm done.
I love it, man. I love seeing that because it's so important. A lot of fighters don't get it, man. They spend all their money, and then they get to a point when fighting's over because you can't fight forever, and you can get injured at any time as well. And then you're in trouble. So I love hearing that you got stuff going on. If you ever do get a chance and want to take a break and come over to Phuket, I have a little gym over here. Not that I want you to train a lot because it's going to be a vacation, but you can definitely get some training in with my Thai trainers and some of my trainers here. But I will show you a great time, you and the family, whoever you bring, and show you the islands and show you just an amazing island. It's
I want to get out there for sure. I'll talk the wife into getting out there, and then I'll definitely get with you and come over, train a little bit, and have some fun.
Well, hit me up anytime, brother, and I'll take care of you. And man, listen, thanks a lot for giving me your time. I know you're a busy guy, and you gave me a lot of your time, a lot of insight, a lot of important knowledge, and I appreciate that. And I'm sure the followers are going to appreciate that as well. So thank you so much, sir. Look forward to your next fight, and look forward to talking to you again on the podcast. Hopefully you come back on.
Thanks for having me on, buddy. Good to catch up.
All right, Ryan Bader, amazing person. He's a great fighter, great human being. I haven't had this much time to talk to him in so long. Actually, I've never talked to him this much. We've only talked small talk and chit chat through passing because we fought our careers simultaneously, but he's still winning and still doing good, even though I'm a little bit older. So I'm retired. We won't get into details of how much older I am, but I mean, he's a winner. This guy is a legit winner. He has won everything. He's beat so many big fighters, won so many championships, so many competitions, so many wrestling matches. He's just a pure winner, and just a great guy. And it was so nice to have him come on and share so much of that experience knowledge with us. And it's been great to finally get him on. I wanted him on for a long time, and we finally worked it out and scheduled it and got him on what I thought was going to be a few days before his submission match against Derek Lewis, but that obviously isn't happening. Breaking news to you guys. You heard it here. I guess they're not going to officially cancel it. But that match is not happening, which I did want to see it, but at least he's fighting again. We got Romero coming in. We got Rumble coming in. We got Musashi, looking at the 205 division now. So there's a lot of great fights. And if they have a Grand Prix, I'm a huge fan of watching those. I hate seeing all those guys take losses because there can only be one winner. And I think there's a lot of super fights to be made from that, including Bader in those super fights, especially with the Rumble Johnson as a rematch. But either way, I'm a fan. I mean, you can't not want to watch a Grand Prix with that level of competition. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. Remember, we post the podcast 9 hours ahead of time on YouTube before the audio platforms. That way, we incentivize you guys because we can read the comments on YouTube, and we want to hear your feedback. We want to hear who you want. We want to hear what you like from the podcast. We want to hear your critiques on the podcast, what we can do better. And so we're incentivizing you guys by giving you the podcast 9 hours early. Then we're going on the audio platforms, all the audio platforms, all the podcast platforms. We posted Calvin Cater. We did his podcast and posted the very next day. Immediately following that, the same day we posted Cater, I did Marvin Vittori. And then we posted that the very next day, which was now like 2 hours ago as I'm doing Ryan Bader. We're posting Ryan Bader most likely tomorrow, if not the next day, I think tomorrow. And then I got another huge podcast that I'm doing on Wednesday that we're going to post probably Thursday or Friday. We might wait till Friday on that one. It's a big one. It's a cool one. It's very intriguing to the old school guys. It's a good one. I hate to jinx it, but it's a good one. And then we got a lot of others lined up before the end of December. So we don't have any schedule, guys. We post these as we do them. So as you're going to see, we're going to have 4 posted right in a row, day after day. and then maybe a couple day break, and then we have another one posted. But we are knocking out the content. There's no podcast, no MMA podcast doing interviews with fighters of this level, putting out this much content, and that's because you guys are enjoying it. I love doing them, and we're to a point now where it's easier to get these guests on that they're wanting to be on. They're saying yes, and they're wanting to be a part of it and share their knowledge and be on the show and share their lives with you guys. And I think we have a good connection, and it's fun being a fighter, I was a fighter, back in the day. So we can talk about a lot of things that I think the journalists can't really touch on, or at least have experience with. So anyway, it was fun. It was great talking to him. Hope you enjoyed it. Leave a comment on YouTube. Let us know what you think. Again, the reason why we put it on 9 hours ahead of time. Subscribe. Please subscribe to our channels. We have a clip site and we have the official channel. So we have the clip site with all the best clips, and then we have the official podcast channel. You can find them both on YouTube. Subscribe to both. Click the bell for notifications. Thank you all for the support. We appreciate it so much. We have grown so fast, and it has been so fun. I love doing these. These are my passion. As I told Bader, I love talking to these guys. I'm living vicariously through them. I know all the experiences that they have. Not like Bader, because I haven't won as much as he has and beat the guys that he's beaten and have 10 championship belts at my house. But I know the experience of getting the big fights and the wins and the losses and the ups and the downs. So it's like I'm living vicariously through all these guests, and it's so exciting to see them share that with all of us. And I can relate more than anyone just because I've been there. So I'm enjoying it, and I hope you're enjoying it as well. Thank you for the support, and we'll see you next time.